Saturday, June 25th. It's WWE Live.
Seth Rollins returns with a vengeance.
I'm back for one thing. That's the title I never lost.
Seth Rollins battles Roman Reigns for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. It's the WWE Live SummerSlam Heatwave Tour, Saturday, June 25th. Tickets and VIP packages are available.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back here on the September edition of MWF Ultra. I'm Dan Maratti, now joined by Commissioner Vaughn Johnson. And joining us via telephone from Uganda, wrestling legend himself, the Ugandan giant Kamala. I don't know if Kamala understands English. I don't speak Ugandan, but apparently you're going to translate the Ugandan into English.
Very easily done. He's very excited to be here.
Now, am I supposed to ask him the questions?
Why don't you ask him the questions, and somehow I'll be able to answer the questions. Let's try it.
After he responds. All right,
Yeah.
Kamala. Kamala, on Saturday night, September 24th, it's the big event, MWF Road to the Gold 2005 at the Lynn Armory in Lynn, Massachusetts, a special fundraiser for the families of the troops over in Iraq. You have a big match up that night, part of the double main event for the AWA Brass Knucks Championship, when you take on the extreme strongman Gino Martino. What are your thoughts on that match?
He is very, let me translate for you, Mr. Maratti. He is looking very much forward to coming up to Boston, and he said Gino Martino is not even a challenge because Gino Martino talks a lot, and it's going to be a joke to him because Gino can't even wrestle in his league. He's a little man, all right, with no experience against a legend that he is. He does not, you know what, it's a joke to him. But he said, you know what, it's an easy night, and then we'll go for Chinese afterwards.
Well, all right. Kamala, back at MWF Soul Survivor 2004 in Billerica, Massachusetts, you were part of that big six-man tag team war. It was Ox Baker's Army, yourself, Gino Martino, and the Executioner against Bob Orton, Todd Hansen, and Bo Douglas. After the match, Gino Martino was turned on by the Army. Yourself, the Executioner, the Outpatient jumped him. Gino Martino was never pinned. Why did you find the need to attack Gino Martino after that match?
What he explained, all right, which is, I'm going to go slower because it's the mind is always thinking. Gino Martino, once again, he hears and he sees everything, Kamala being, of course, that Gino Martino is a worthless individual who cannot even wrestle and he does not belong in the ring. And Kamala decided to give him a lesson that Gino Martino is not even deserved of any wrestling belt, wrestling title, or he doesn't even wrestle. He just talks and he's just lethargic when he wrestles. He's not even a wrestler, according to Kamala.
How can you say that?
This is what he just told me. I'm telling you. Please, if you spoke the language, you would know.
Kamala is underestimating Gino Martino, if that's the case. Kamala, as I'm sure you know, as I'm sure Ox Baker has explained to you in some of the sessions you have with the Army and the training and whatnot, this match is going to be for the AWA Brass Knucks Championship. What are your thoughts on perhaps becoming the first Brass Knucks champion?
Kamala, ici, Equina Mafaloala, Kamala Standard, Equina Uganda, no Falala, a Pichiala, Electrico Kimala, no Solo Makafalala, Esico Okomala.
Commissioner Von Johnson, can you translate that?
That's a very easy one, and he's 100% right. He goes, from his country, because he is a world finely tuned, trained athlete, against this is what we give him, he's actually not even, challenged. He's very actually almost disappointed, but he being the true professional from Uganda knows and respects you as a promoter and myself as a commissioner that right now this is just a little test for him, but he knows it's just going to be a workout because Gino Martino talks you know, and it's hot air. He's like a vulture hovering and hovering in his country, and all they do is they take a little slingshot and they get rid of the vulture in one shot, because that's all he is. It's a waste. He's thought about it, and you know, he said he really doesn't even to train anymore, because Gino Martino is supposedly the hottest head in wrestling, but he in fact has one of the biggest mouths in wrestling and nothing but hot air like a balloon.
Kamala, I have another question off of what Commissioner Von Johnson just said. Now, you know Gino Martino is indeed the extreme strongman. He has perhaps the hottest head in all of professional wrestling. Over in Uganda in this hot summer heat, are you partaking in any kind of special training for the match on September 24th at Road to the Gold?
Kamala Isulava. Kamala Sigalan, Oikalava. Bye, Uganda, Nasoli. Makaleza. Tofa. Tofa, Miss Bender, a colleague, Uganda, Ferrari.
Commissioner Von Johnson, can you translate?
Yes. Although the heat is, for the average person, a major problem, because it is almost a third hotter over there with zero humidity, for the Ugandan giant, it's, you know, part of his everyday training ritual, that it's, you know, which makes him, when he comes over to this country, and compared to his athletic and skilled moves as a pure athlete, it's really, you know, it's a piece of cake when he gets over here, because we have air conditioning over here, we have the finest food over here, we have many things to offer, but in his country, it's train, train, train. Eating the proper foods, the proper nutrition, proper, you know, nice sleep.
He ate a chicken on live television.
That's a, well, you know what? There's no. He said he'll do it any time. It could be alive or dead. It doesn't matter to him. That's part, you know, that's part of the ritual. And he will eat and spit out Gino Martino in the same way, because Gino Martino is not close in ability. He's not close as a wrestler, and it's basically, he's thinking it's a big joke. And you know what? He went online on the website to look at Gino Martino, and he actually, I really can't use that word on national TV, but he actually he made a little specimen on the picture of Gino Martino.
Where did you learn how to speak Ugandan?
Because I travel the world in sales, and as an MD, you have to be able to be fluent in several languages. Okay, as a young man, I was in sales, and after I went to medical school, part of my training was to go over there for 6 or 8 months and practice on the various diseased people. And Uganda was one of the places I trained at.
Kamala, you have the big match with Gino Martino. While you've been in Uganda, Oxbaker's army has been feuding with Gino Martino, the likes of the Vashons, Oxbaker's executioner, the outpatient, the Islanders. If you had a chance to perhaps speak with and try and come up with a battle plan with some of your fellow army members in preparing for your match with Martino.
Uganda, Kamala, Stanley, Caviar, King. Uganda, no Kamala. Kamala, Stan, Geek, my pleasure of the party, calculator. Nakatan, design, Mikula. Whoa, Kamala, 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 Kamala.
Commissioner Von Johnson, this is about the most I've ever been able to understand Kamala, but please translate this.
Well, as he was getting frustrated at first with, you know, the mention of Gino Martino, he started to laugh, because he looks at Gino Martino as a complete joke. And you know what? He was watching The Godfather in Uganda the other night. They dub it in many languages. And he said, Gino Martino thinks he's Don Corleone of The Godfather. And he started to look at the similarities. And he says, does he think he's Marlon Brando when he goes on the website and when he starts talking about all his ability, or maybe it's a disability as a wrestler, and what he brings to the table? And he said, you know what? He goes, I'm going to have to watch The Godfather a couple more times to really try to figure out what this gentleman thinks, this Gino Martino, for strategy in the ring. Because he goes, my nephews, my nieces at 10 or 12 years old can handle this guy. What am I, you know what? He goes, but it's a challenge anyway, and he's very happy to come over to America and actually do a little match, which actually he thinks is going to be very quick, and maybe 10, 15 minutes, and that's it, baby. Done, baby, done.
They have the Godfather translated in Ugandan.
Yes, they do. All languages.
All right, Commissioner Von Johnson, running out of time. Kamala, it's the big night, Saturday night, September 24th, Lynn Armory in Lynn, Massachusetts, at MWF Road to the Gold 2005. Kamala, Gino Martino, one-on-one. Any final thoughts?
Kamala is a Green Garden Queen Fourth. Kamala, Uganda, is stay anyway. Me Salah, Kamala, Idi Ami, Kamala.
Commissioner Von Johnson, I believe that speaks for itself. We're just about out of time in this segment. Kamala out in Uganda, thank you for joining us. Commissioner, thank you for your translation. We will be back in just one moment.